You're listening to the New Frontier Network with Chris Iverson and Victor Vigiani.
Welcome to NFN, the New Frontier Network, where we explore the new frontiers of phenomenology, ufology, and exopolitics. Welcome today to all of our regular visitors and those of you who may be joining us for the first time. We have with us today, as always, my co-host Victor Vigiani, coming to you live from Toronto. And, as well as, go ahead, Victor.
No, I'm just going to say that you're the moderator along with myself, Chris, and you're in Florida, in Miami.
That's right. So we've got both ends covered. It's summer up in Toronto, which means it started last week, and I think there's a blizzard coming next week. So enjoy it while you can, Victor. And we have with us today our international correspondent coming live from Portugal. We have Francisco Mirao Correa. Thank you for being with us today, Francisco. And we look forward to your normal, insightful questions and contributions, of course, to this. We have two very special guests with us today that are going to fit right in here with what we try to do and accomplish here on the New Frontier Network, where we're not just rehashing that which happened in the past. We're not looking at lights in the skies. We're not looking at videos. What we are trying to do is establish, where are we going? What do these things mean? What is the underlying importance of going forward? We want to push that envelope. We want to be, as we indicate by our name, we want to be on the frontier and trying to establish and figure out just exactly what does all of this mean. And with that, we have two wonderful guests who are going to help us in that mission. And they will be sharing their insights, their upcoming conference that they have that is going to be in about 2 weeks. We'll speak about that at length. And with that, let me turn it over to Victor, who can introduce you to our wonderful guests today.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, it's really important that we understand that the idea behind the New Frontier Network is something that's forward-looking. And there's so many different conduits out there that attempt to get this kind of information out. And some of them successful and some of them not so successful, or some of them are biased and some of them are a little bit more pristine and clear. We hope to strike that balance and really providing an insightful way of looking at what's ahead of us. And we don't have any, we can't have any two better guests than the ones we have right now, Mark Sims and Daniel Sheehan. I'll read a very brief. First of all, Mark Sims. Mark is a spiritual scientist and Harvard Business School alumni. After graduating from Eastern Michigan University in 1986 with a degree in computer-aided design, Mark worked for Sun Microsystems and established himself as an expert in 3D computer graphics with an emphasis on networking and computer security. In 1992, Mark left Sun to start Netrex, his first of three businesses. Netrex went on to become one of the largest inter-security consulting companies in the world. And I'll stop right there. If you want to add something to that, Mark, you're more than welcome to once we get going. And then, of course, we also have Daniel Sheehan. I've known Danny for many, many years. Danny is a constitutional and public interest lawyer, public speaker, political activist, and educator. Over the last 45 years, he has participated in numerous legal cases and public interest situations, including the Pentagon Papers, the Watergate break-in case, the Karen Silkwood case, the Greensboro Massacre case, and several other very, very poignant legal issues that he's had to deal with. He established the Christic Institute and the Romero Institute, two nonprofit public policy centers, and Daniel has spoken on the UFO ET issue and participated in the Disclosure Project, as well as the citizen hearings, which he was counsel for in 2013 that Steve Bassett ran. So that's a little bit of a lead in. Why don't we start with you, Mark? And do you want to give us just a bit of an introduction to what the conference is all about and how people can get connected to it, and why you're putting all this work into something so large?
Well, that's hard to wrap up in a short, tight little message, but I'll attempt to just say that the Making Contact Convergence is the culmination of 9 years of work that began with a face-to-face contact experience I had with an extraterrestrial in 2012. And I feel as a contactee compelled to share my story, the things I learned through this contact experience that lasted over a 13-day period. I am one of the only people I know in all of the UFO literature and ET contact history of somebody who had a prolonged contact experience. Mine was 13 days. I was awake. I was able to ask this being any question I wished, and that led to a complete, profound change in my worldview and in my life purpose. And that ultimately led me to Danny, who I met 2.5 years later. And when he and I met, we recognized that we had a lot in common in terms of our life's purpose. And we formed something called the New Paradigm Institute. And that was back in 2015. And this is a continuation of that original work that we began back in 2015. And I'll let Danny talk about the origins, the original creation of that, which involved him and Dr. John Mack preceding our meeting. With that, Danny, why don't I turn it over to you? Why don't you share a little bit about the Making Contact Convergence Conference and how this all began?
Sure. Thank you, Mark. Yes, this gathering is focused on capitalizing on the events that have taken place specifically over the last 3 years. As people know, at the very end of 2017, the New York Times broke the story on the front page that in fact the director of the top secret Pentagon investigation of the UFOs had resigned in protest, that the Defense Department was blocking him and concealing information about the UFO phenomenon and its potential extraterrestrial origins. And he resigned and brought with him 3 videos that had been declassified, actually, of gun camera footage from F-18 fighter jets that had been tracking and videotaping UFOs. This was an extraordinary event that took place that kind of had this large thunderclap that went throughout the country and the world, because the Defense Department was then put on the spot of having to either deny the validity of these videos or come forward and finally admit that UFOs are in fact real, that they're not just swamp gas or the reflection of the searchlights off clouds or flocks of birds or weather balloons, that this was an extraordinarily important watershed moment with the UFO movement that has been vigorously underway, as we all know, since basically 1947, with the sightings of Colonel Keogh, Donald Keogh, and then, of course, the Roswell crash, where it has now become virtually proven that there was a major UFO vehicle that was crashed and recovered by the United States military, and they've been attempting to keep this secret for now 75 years. And so up until that December 2017 New York Times piece, the entire focus of the UFO community had been trying to get people convinced that UFOs were real. And that secondly, that they believe that they're from an extraterrestrial source. But now that this has happened, that the Defense Department itself has acknowledged that they're real. And the man, Lou Elizondo, who you mentioned at the top of the show, has resigned and has come forward and said that the people that are engaged in the investigation, the official secret investigation of the UFOs inside the government, have come to the clear conclusion that the vast majority of these sightings are not some secret technology that the United States has developed, or are they from Russia or China? That they're not a technology that is known on our planet. And they use that phrase, which immediately starts to suggest that if they're not from our planet, they're from somewhere else. And when pressed on this, Lou Elizondo, in a major interview with the Associated Press, when he was asked, what do the researchers inside the Pentagon and inside the government think these are? And he indicated that the most likely probability is that they are extraterrestrial. Now, so what our point is in this particular conference that's going to be taking place from August 18th to the 22nd is to commence the conversation that is predicated upon those two assumptions. Number one, that the UFOs are real. The vast majority of them are not mistaken identities of other things. And secondly, that the consensus of those who have conducted the official investigations is that they are likely to be extraterrestrial in origin. And so our purpose is to start the extraordinarily important discussion that needs to be undertaken, that has been called for by even as much as the Vatican. The Vatican back in 2009 said that in light of the fact that we are now likely to discover the existence of extraterrestrial intelligence much sooner than had been anticipated, that the time had arrived to undertake a very serious conversation among our people on our planet of what the philosophical and theological implications are of this. And so that's this conversation. This conversation is not, let's all argue about whether they're real, and let's not argue about whether they're extraterrestrial. The point is that assuming that the UFOs are real, that their source is extraterrestrial, what are the philosophical and theological implications of this? That's what this discussion is going to be about. And so that we have convened 24 of the leading experts around the world to participate in this discussion, have divided it into 5 different days, which we'll go into some detail on as we proceed here this morning. But the key is we're going to be starting out talking about the philosophical impact on our human family, to suddenly realize that we are not only not physically located in the center of the universe, which it took the Copernican revolution to really persuade us that we're not in the center of the universe, but we are, in fact, not really at the pinnacle of the pyramid of all sentient life in the universe. And this is a dramatic event to have our human family reconsider our place in the universe. This is at the root of a philosophical understanding of who we are. And we also have to address the theological implications of this, having to do with, again, the place of our human family in the universe. And also there are other important questions, such as the psychological impact that this will have on people, and our cultural impact, and the public policy issues that we need to really address. How are we going to establish diplomatic relations with these people? How are we going to deal economically with these people? Are we going to be subsumed by a culture that may be much more technologically advanced than we? These are all extraordinarily important questions, fundamentally different from the long 75-year conversation of whether UFOs are real or whether extraterrestrial intelligence actually exists. This is the moment that we've all been anticipating arriving during our lifetimes, and here it is. So this is the opening conversation of these fundamental questions that have been so long delayed, while we've all been waiting to get the first 2 questions answered. That's what's happening now. And we have an array of extraordinarily important and well-informed people who are going to be coming together to discuss this, both in presentations that are going to be done during the mornings, starting on Wednesday, August 18th, and proceeding Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There are a series of 3 presentations each morning of approximately 1 hour each. And then there's going to be a major important panel discussion in the afternoon among the people, live discussion of the presenters and others who are expert on the particular issue of philosophy, theology, public policy issues, the psychological import of this information. That's what this conference is going to be about. Plus, it's going to have an awful lot of other things that are going on that Mark can share with you. But that's the basic core of what's going to be happening.
Good. I'd like to broach an issue, and you brought it up actually as you spoke, Danny, with what Mark said to begin with in his sort of description with his form of contact, and with what you just mentioned now at the very beginning of your introduction. There seem to be two separate but converging lines of evidence here. The one that's the highly political one that's developed since about 2017. And then what's happening with respect to how contact can be made through the DS of contactees or people like Mark who have had those experiences. Those two ideas seem to be very polemic in their existence, but I know you fellows are trying to make those two lines of convergence meet at a certain point. How are you dealing with the convergence of two seemingly disparate philosophies on how to look at the UAP issue? How will you bring those things together, the political, and I'll call for another word, the non-political aspects of this? I'll throw it to both of you.
I would suggest a little bit different framing of it, and that is that there's a focus that has taken place within the military and in the government circles all this time for 75 years, focusing on the technology. Oh, what are these vehicles? How well do they fly? You know, okay, where are they coming from? There's all kind of a national security type of perspective. But one thing that they do not ever talk about is the actual contacts, the actual face-to-face meetings that hundreds and hundreds of people talk about having had, and what the messages are that are being communicated to them. So there's two parallel tracks that are being addressed here. One is the kind of the more abstract at a distance relationship with the ET people in their vehicles. And the other one is the much more up close and personal dimension of this, and what the impact on individuals are who sincerely believe that they've had face-to-face contact and communication with UFOs. Those are the two elements that are going to be coming together here, the discussion of the philosophical and cultural impact of all of this, and also the personal contact in import of all of this. So Mark is leading the kind of discussion of the individual people, the experiencers who've had these kind of contacts and communications. They're going to be sharing that information. There are going to be gatherings of experiencers in the evening, which are going to be carried live for people to participate in. And then there's going to be the discussions in the morning of the kind of philosophical and theological import of all of this on the larger culture. But Mark can speak to this directly. Mark.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Well, my background being in 3D computer graphics, I have been following the trends and the advancements in interactive gameplay and the potential for that technology to be used for online collaboration and community building. And it seems we've reached a point in our development in these platforms and these open APIs and open source projects that we can use these tools for creating a new place. And we've called this the Making Contact Campus, where people can come and congregate in a safe environment virtually from anywhere in the world. They create an avatar and then participate in interactive discussions and events and classes. And so we've created this virtual campus. And on the campus, we actually have the new Paradigm Institute that will have a facility, a virtual facility where we can carry out some of our plans, our strategic initiatives, including establishing a training center for people who might be interested in getting involved in in ways in which they could participate in a diplomacy effort for initiating contact and establishing diplomatic relations with extraterrestrials. So we just want to create this place and test it out, and all this is kind of converging because I've been working on the platform itself, and then with everything else going on, with Danny representing Lou Elizondo and him bringing to the public the information that he's aware of, we have a unique opportunity to launch our platform and make a conference where people can listen to some of these amazing presenters. I mean, we have amassed, I think, an historic roster of thinkers from academe, from science, from the political sphere, from around the world. And we're going to have this discussion and elevate it to a whole new level. You know, for decades, there's been UFO conferences where they talk about the nuts and bolts, and you know, the primary effort has been to try to convince people that ETs and UFOs exist. Well, now we're beyond that. And now the discussion needs to be, what do we do now? Now that we know they're here, how do we engage them? And what would we say once we made contact? So that's what this platform's all about. And I just sent you a couple of links in chat where we could show possibly the website, and just really quickly give your viewers a taste of the caliber of speakers that we have, and their credentials. And then that we have the schedule there. And then finally, I could show a promotional video that we just launched yesterday that kind of gives a very clear, or a much clearer picture of what this platform is really about. So this is our website, makingcontact.com. And there's the promotional video right there that we just uploaded yesterday, or finished yesterday. And that, if you want to show it, you could, that's a nice introduction to this.
Indeed, it is. Thank you very much for that. MAKINGCONTACT.com, as both Danny and Mark have indicated, is a conference that they are hosting and making available to everyone. It starts in approximately 2 weeks, correct? In
That's
13
right.
days, I believe, on the 18th of August, running through the 22nd. It's an incredible list of speakers. You can go to the website, again, makingcontact.com. Look at the various speakers that we have there. Some are very well known, starting right off there with Stephen Bassett, on to Jimmy Blanchett, and several others that are on there. Ralph Blumenthal, who we interviewed on NFN here just last month, and Richard Dolan, who we've also had on. It's an incredible group of people. And as you gentlemen have pointed out, we are at the point here where the discussions need to be advanced to another level. We have the DNI report that just came out here a few weeks ago, where they indicated all but one of these sightings that came from the Navy were indeed unexplained. And as you indicated, where did they come from then? What might they be? And for the part, they've indicated that it's not something that is explainable. It's not something that is terrestrial in nature, which brings us to the next point, which is, okay, we have contact, they exist, we're here. What do we do? How do we interface with it? Our correspondent, Francisco Murao Correa from Portugal, is leading an effort, is part of the leadership of an effort that is looking at it, much as you gentlemen are here, with his involvement in a new international organization called ICER. And I'm sure that Francisco has a few questions for you here and insight regarding, where do we go with this? How do we interface? How do we prepare humanity for the questions, whether they be philosophical, theological, or very, what about me? I'm concerned. What does this mean for me and my family? There's a lot of questions that people have. So, Francisco.
Oh, thank you, Chris. My question would be the challenge that is to engage humanity in this type of conference, because these conferences usually have a certain public that is very well aware of everything and goes and engages by itself. But what you are proposing with this, and I guess it is what you are proposing with this conference, and we at ICER the same thing, how to go after other publics, not just the same old public, but going out to the general public, because and the general public is now awakening for a new reality. Maybe UFOs are real. Maybe there's some intelligence behind them. Making contact is a total different phase. Talking about contact and how to reach the people who still doubt that maybe UFOs are just drones or whatever. Talking about contact, and you have in your conference several different speakers with different levels of experience and different perspectives as well. Some of them may be, how can I say this? A little bit scary for certain people. So how are you going to plan to engage with the general public? That would be my question.
Well, we're going to engage with them on this platform where they get to listen to some of these luminaries and thought leaders on these broad topics. I mean, UFOs, ETs, and contact with them will touch every aspect of our lives. And so this issue of fear coming up with the prospect of making contact has got to be addressed. And so we need a venue where people can come together safely and have these discussions. And from those discussions, we can glean the strategic and tactical initiatives that we need to embody in a overall citizens diplomacy program or initiative for people to understand how we're going to go about this in a way that people can feel more informed about, and as a consequence, more safe. And we want to do this in an environment that's transparent. We don't want to do it behind closed doors. And so this platform, this Making Contact Campus, provides a venue where people can participate in the process regardless of their location. We are going to just start this process during this August event from the 18th to the 22nd, and continue. So it doesn't end. We will continue this process. We have other events that we're going to be doing after that, and we're going to provide memberships for people that feel engaged or wanting to be a process of this type. They feel called and want to participate and share their own thoughts. And this is going to be a collaborative effort. And we think with partnering with organizations like ICER, this will enrich the quality of this process and bring to bear some of the best minds from around the world on this very important issue.
It's a great point, and it's a great approach that you gentlemen are making here. I think it's very important to have this discussion out in the open. There's the age-old question that has existed out there. Are they benevolent? Are they malevolent? Or are they somewhat indifferent to us? Or is it some combination of the three? As we move forward, there's going to be a fear factor that has been discussed quite often. You have, going all the way back to when Reagan was president and his speech that he gave before the United Nations with at least a hint that there might be something, an us versus them type of an approach. And of course, it's natural. You want to be protective of yourself. You want to be protective of your family, of what you have. And then there's just that general fear of the unknown. But to be able to take experiencers, people who have had face-to-face I think the one of the most recent polls of people who have had these experiences states something like 75 to 80% of them don't fear their contact and would welcome future contact with the individuals that they've had some contact with. However, there is still the flip side of that, which is 20 to 25% are scared to death of it, don't like it, and don't want it to continue. But I think that's also reflective, and which is important to understand here, is that ET is not an entity. It is a collection. They might not even necessarily be within our dimension. We're talking about pure energy beings. We're talking about interdimensionality. So there's a lot of complex concepts to come into play here. How do you gentlemen propose to bring those concepts forward to people and to, I don't know, ease the concerns and the worries that people might have as to the contacts that have occurred and how we move forward with this?
Well, it's going to require educating them and having a discussion on these issues. And the question becomes, where can we do that in an effective and respectful way? And the challenge has been traditionally that we can't get enough people interested in this topic, but that's changed. And the other problem is that where do we physically meet to have these kind of discussions in a way that doesn't come across to the general public that it's being done in secret behind closed doors. And this virtual platform, the Making Contact Campus, is a perfect place for that to happen because people can participate regardless of where they are in the world. We record everything and we put it on a video portal so that people can come later that missed the meetings. And this can be archived and stored for historic purposes as well as educational purposes. And the Institute is ultimately going to become this repository for all this information and these past events where they can come up to speed, because of course, we're just beginning this process now, and we're going to begin with 2,000 people. We're limiting this first meeting to 2,000 people. And I'd like to show your viewers, giving them an example or give them a tour very briefly of the New Paradigm Institute. Well, actually, it's the Making Contact Campus, which has within it the New Paradigm Institute. So is there a chance I could share my screen with everyone?
Yes, you can.
Okay, great.
I might add that Mark took me on a tour when I first met him, and I was absolutely blown away by this whole thing. So those of you who are watching, watch intently, because it is really an incredible experience.
So what you're looking at is the closet, what we call the closet. So, it's just kind of funny that this is where everybody who signs up, buys a ticket to the event, will end up coming. And here you can customize your avatar to look like anything, any sex, any race. You can change your accessories like your hair or the clothing and so on. And once you are ready, you then can pop out of the closet, come out of the closet to the campus or one of the other venues on the campus. So I'm just going to come to the welcome area. And let's see, it's going to just take a second for me to come into so this is where everybody will pop in, and behind you will be a kiosk with information about the daily schedule and events coming up. You can walk up here, and each one of these buttons is or pictures is clickable and will take you to, for instance, the schedule on the website. The speaker list, as we saw earlier, is again where this will take you. It will invoke your local browser on your computer, and you'll be able to then get that information. We have a scavenger hunt. We have a art contest that will be part of this event, and we're actually giving away cash prizes. We have an expo hall, and we actually have vendors that are renting virtual booths where they can promote their products and services. And then we have a technical support button here where people can click if they're having any technical issues. This is the campus map. I'll just zoom in. So this is where we are. This is taking place on a virtual island. So on this island are all these different venues, and you can see the different venues are listed in a welcome or a go-to menu. This is, every user has this go-to menu here. And so these are the options of where you can teleport to. And I'm going to teleport us to the auditorium. And this is where the speakers will be gathering and presenting their lectures. And from the podium, you can imagine this, this is where, whoops, I didn't mean to sit down. I'm going to go back up on stage. So the speakers will speak up here, and then behind them are 3 screens that the presenters have the ability to control. And so you can play a video. I have a video up here. This is for another conference.
The seeds have been planted.
And you know, you can have a slideshow going here, a PowerPoint or a keynote slide in graphics. This is a promotional graphic for our event. And this seats 2,000 avatars that can watch the event from here. So what I'll do is I'm going to show you how I can control this screen.
These are fundamental questions.
That's Ray Hernandez's voice. Let's see here. So I'm going to go.
Just quickly, I want to let you know, I am blown away. This is incredible.
He took me on a boat ride, Chris.
Oh.
That's another story.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Let me take you to the beach. Actually, I'll do that real quick. I think you get the general idea of that area. So this is the beach. These are where the boats are. This is one location. There's this lighthouse. In fact, I'm going to run up there and quickly show you the bird's eye view, so to speak, of the campus. It's a beautiful viewpoint to see the campus.
When Mark and I did this to begin with, he ran into someone who was on the site. They talked for a little while, and then we went on our boat ride. It was just fascinating.
Oh my gosh.
It was amazing.
So this is it. And there's the skyscrapers. These have offices and classrooms in them where we actually will be having the institute. So one of these buildings is the New Paradigm Institute. And then this area over here is the auditorium and the art gallery and learning center. And there's a soccer field where you can play virtual soccer with people. So this is really encouraging interaction and community building. This is going to become the place where experiencers and anybody interested in this topic can come and gather and belong to a community, regardless of where they're located in the world, and participate in this discussion and share their stories. This is the beach where I was just at. The boats are down there that we're going to jump in shortly. And you can see there's a stage on the beach. And when we go down there, I'll show you the little DJ booth where you can control music play and the videos that are displayed on the screens on the stage. So, you know, one thing I'm going to do, that I'm going to show you a feature really quickly that we're calling astral traveling. And so now I'm able to leave my body and give you a bird's eye view of this. And if I look straight down, I'm still right there. I'll be able to fly down there and look at myself. But from here, we can, you know, move towards a destination or towards a location. I'm going to zoom in. So this is all being funded by a nonprofit I started in 2014. This was something I did as a consequence of my contact with Tejbar, the ET that I spent 13 days with. And I put into this foundation a large amount of money to fund the initiatives that I've been working on, including this building this campus, and the New Paradigm Institute was funded out of this fund. And so, you know, you can, there's this rooftop, I'm gonna go here real quick. This is the rooftop lounge, and there's another stage, and so it's really quite cool, you know, to zoom around, and people will be able to do this with their avatars. I'm gonna go back to my body here. There I am. And I'm going to return now. I've got to type in a command to. All right, now I'm back in my body, and I will now let's just really quickly. I'm going to take you to the Cyberspace Lounge, or really quick. Let me. I told you I was going to take you to the boats, so let's do that real quick.
You can't walk on water?
No, you can't walk on water. So you can take a tour around the island. I don't know if you can hear the boat. I don't know if I shared this, my sound with you, but the boat motor is.
No, the sound isn't on at this point. It's incredible enough as is. I mean, this is just Sim City meets UFOs. It's amazing.
Whoops, got hung up there. So I'm going to take us to the Cyberspace Lounge. And this is where people who buy a ticket will first go when they come out of the closet. And we've set this lounge up to display artwork that's been curated and put in here. This is a clickable picture where you can learn about the art contest and submit art that will be considered by a group that will determine which art will be submitted, which artwork will be submitted. And this is one of the videos that we put here. And we have live streaming that can display on these two side screens that we've currently disabled because we're not running an event right now. And so we can zoom in to this and watch this video. So this is an area where people can come and congregate and get oriented to their avatars. So this is kind of a welcome area where we have volunteers who will help their, troubleshoot any technical problems, make sure the microphones are working, and that they know how to navigate around the environment with their avatar. And this is just a video that plays in the background with some soft music, and this is just really wonderful.
Now this whole experience can be enjoyed by any number of people at any given time.
That's right. And then these tables right here are designed to be private areas where people can have a discussion. So you see the blue area here. I'm going to turn my microphone on, and when I turn my microphone on, you see this white balloon over my head. That indicates that my mic is broadcasting my voice into the environment. And as I approach other people, my voice will get louder and vice versa. But when I enter one of these private areas, I can sit down and have a private conversation. Anybody outside of this blue area is not going to hear what I'm saying. And you can see down in the lower left-hand corner right here, my balloon now is turning blue or cyan. And that indicates that I'm in one of these private areas. And only the people that are in this area with me can hear me talking. And this is original artwork that was done by artists that we've curated just to decorate the lounge. And this is just, we have a lot of ideas. This is going to evolve over time, and maybe we've had ideas inspired by Star Wars and the cantina, and so we could have concerts going on in here too. And in fact, let me just show you something really fun. There's you can dance in here. So, whoops, got to move over here. So you can see in my lower left-hand corner, I've got these different dance options. So I can, do the samba.
The kids are going to have fun with this.
Yeah, right. It just inspires, interaction and community and relationship building. And that's what we're hoping to do here. We want this to be a fun environment, an engaging environment, an educational environment. And we think we've really got something unique here and special. And what we end up, we don't have this yet, but I've been working on a translation engine that we integrate into this so that two people that speak different languages can interact verbally, speak to one another, and they'll be able to do that in their native language. So that's one feature that we're going to be announcing within a year. We think we'll have that troubleshooted where there's a significant delay right now, but we think with the right architecture and optimization and with the right horsepower on the translation server, having a dedicated high-end computer that's handling translation, we can make that near real time. So that's something that we've been testing. And the other thing is AI capabilities. So we're going to have this populated by permanent volunteer avatars that are controlled by AI engines. So if anybody has a problem or has a question, we don't need to hire a volunteer. We can have an AI avatar who will wear a special badge, or you can actually type in a tech support number. So here we have our tech support poster, and that number right there goes to allows you to text to a computer that can interpret that text request and fork it off either to a AI responder, one of these AI chatbots that can answer the question, or if it can't answer the question, it can turn it over to a live person. Ultimately, we'd like this all to be automated. So, so this is where we're going with this.
Wow, you said unique and special. Unique and special doesn't even begin to describe this. This is an incredible step forward and a wonderful, fantastic way to provide. It really does. You can imagine and see what it will be able to do. Give people a safe space, so to speak, because it is well, you being a contactee, and understand it's not easy to step out of that particular closet to go, here's what happened to me, here's who I talked to, and here's what the discussion was about, without feeling like you are somebody who's perhaps lost touch with reality.
Right. Absolutely.
To you or Danny, I noticed the towers that were there, and you said classrooms. Would you imagine, is this where some of the training of the diplomats might take place, or is there another format for that? How does that?
No, that's absolutely our intention is to have classes that will be taught by people like Danny and others that are experts in these various areas that are related to this topic of establishing diplomatic relations with extraterrestrials. So we're going to need diplomats that are trained in engaging and negotiating, and we're going to need people who have been researching this for decades that can bring their knowledge and wisdom to the discussion. And eventually we're going to establish a Citizens Diplomacy Academy within the New Paradigm Institute, and that will all take place on this campus. and we'll have classrooms. I didn't take you to the classroom.
Mhm.
But we have 8 classrooms currently in those skyscrapers, in the New Paradigm Institute skyscraper. And what I wanted to just share with you is that if you go to makingcontact.com and hit the register button, we currently have our ticket priced at $249. But anybody watching this can use the promo code Victor Save 100. So in honor of Victor here, Victor Vigiani, we have this promo code, and we can add this ticket to the cart, and you can type in Victor, all in lowercase, save 100, and that will apply a savings of $100 to the ticket. And then you just can proceed to check out, and you can pay either by credit card or by PayPal, and register for this event. And we are making this, a paid event. A lot of work is going in here. We want to, as we launch this, we want to really keep out the fringe element, so to speak. And that fringe element could be, this. Let's face it, this community has got some people who, we might not want to have in this discussion. And then you have people who are undermining these kind of things. For instance, I was on Jimmy Church 2 nights ago,
Mhm.
and he had to deal with all these spam. It was a YouTube broadcast, and his the comments that were coming in were there were dozens and hundreds of these websites that were being put in there for porn and for other things, really. And his staff was just trying, it was like whack-a-mole. They were just trying to get rid of all that. So here in this campus environment, we can control that kind of problem. We don't have the problems that Facebook or YouTube have within this environment. And because my background in computer and network security, I have that expertise. We built in some really good security into this, so it's very difficult, if not impossible, to hack. And if there are people who misbehave, we have terms and conditions, including behavior guidelines, and we reserve the right to kick somebody out who's disrupting the flow or our speakers. So that's really important, that we control this environment and make it an environment in which people feel safe and we're not being hacked or undermined. So a lot of thought has been put into this, into the architecture, into the software, into the platform itself, and into the messaging. So you saw in that cyberspace lounge, what kind of thought and effort went into creating the material, the artwork, and the feeling, that sense of wonder and futuristic inspiration.
Yeah, I wanted to just bring up a point that you made earlier regarding the seminars or the classrooms. I would expect that at some point, if you're going to be developing the diplomat kind of situation, that you'll need a syllabus to help the presenters train these disciplines and train the diplomats. Have you thought about the kind of syllabus that you're going to be developing? Because that's part of my background.
I'm going to let you take that question, Danny.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, the design, the Sunday after we had the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday presenters and the panels that are going on Sunday, we're going to have a direct conversation with people about this whole campus, the type of services that are going to be made available here. And one of the key things, of course, is the development of this citizens diplomacy core of people. That this is something that Dr. John Mack and I were talking about way back in 1994, after we had successfully kind of pushed back against Harvard University attempting to sanction Dr. Mack in some way for his speaking out publicly about this issue of contact we started talking about the fact that it was clear that the problem that had arisen was a conflict of worldviews. That Harvard University, which views itself as sort of the seat of the liberal materialist worldview on the planet, was completely offended at the idea that there was this entire new paradigm worldview that had to do with extraterrestrial intelligence, as well as integrating in the insights of quantum physics, of the relationship between human consciousness and the actual manifestation of material reality. This was a complete freakout on the part of them. So we started talking about having to set up some kind of an institute there in Cambridge to try to address this conflict of worldviews and to bring about this kind of new paradigm understanding of the need to reach out and establish contact with extraterrestrial beings as citizens. And so what we were working on at the time that Dr. Mack was tragically killed, which is no conspiracy. He ended up being hit by a drunken taxi cab driver in England when he was there delivering us a presentation. The bottom line is we started talking about dealing with the regular contactees, people who had repeated contact experiences with extraterrestrials, of finding some of these people who were extremely reliable, very responsible people, and training them through first getting them exposed to this training called holotropic breathing, so that they can actually get themselves into a very relaxed state as soon as they realize that one of these contact experiences was getting ready to happen. And so their body wouldn't freak out and they wouldn't be afraid. So first they would get calmed and centered, and then we started communicating with them certain questions that we wanted to ask of the UFO beings, solicit information from them, provide information to them, and to start a genuine citizen diplomacy dialogue with the extraterrestrial beings through these contact experiences. And that's sort of where the birth of this idea came from, of having direct citizen contact. And then it evolved eventually into also relating to the CE5 experience, where people would go out in groups into the night, and they would go into fields and they would sit and meditate and reach out telepathically to try to have communication with extraterrestrial beings, get them to come to appear there. This is where Mark had his original experience in a CE5 experience, where a vehicle actually appeared, and it was in the context of that appearance of a UFO vehicle that Mark had his direct experience with an ET being. And so what we're trying to do with John Mack is try to start the initiation of this citizen diplomacy process. So what we're doing here is bringing that to full fruition, to actually have a campus where we can have a New Paradigm Institute, where we can have a division in the New Paradigm Institute building, where there's an actual diplomacy training center. Now, there'll be other types of classes that will be there that have to do with the new paradigm. People need to be brought up to date on the experience of UFO contact, the various types of species that we may be engaging with, trying to understand that there may be different kinds of diplomatic approaches that need to be taken to different species from different star systems. These are going to require a very sophisticated curriculum, but it's going to be extremely professional. For example, Tufts University has a thing called they have regular diplomatic training at the what's it called, the School of Law and Diplomacy, which is at Tufts University. They have a whole curriculum for how you go about training diplomats. The State Department has a whole set of curricula on how you train people to deal with certain nation states in different ethnic groups around the world on our own planet. These are the kind of protocols that we're going to have to sort of integrate and set up a series of courses. That there will be basically an academy there that will be dealing with this, and a sub portion of the academy is the Diplomatic Corps Training Center. These are all going to be going on. That's why you see the size of that building. The New Paradigm Institute is one of those basic towers where we have these different classrooms and we have the different levels of study that are going to be going on. This is definitely going to be taking place, and it will conceivably eventually evolve into a college where you actually have undergraduate courses where you are getting trained in graduating with a bachelor's degree, then a master's degree, then a PhD degree in issues that relate to the extraterrestrial civilization. This is something that has to take place. We have to start integrating into our institutions, educational institutions, this new paradigm worldview. And that's going to be going on here at the campus.
Francesco, I know you have a question for Danny or for Mark.
I have two questions. One, and picking up with what Chris have said a couple of moments ago, the Sims meet UFOs. Have you a thought on the scenario? Because I understand that this platform, besides the conference, is basically the contact campus where everything after August will develop. Right? Have you thought of the scenario of this platform being interpreted or maybe seen as a play game, in the sense that people may not see it as not in terms of credibility, but
not serious,
very low and an informal way, and maybe may not be drawn to have formal share their experiences in a formal way.
No, this is an issue that we're discussing, of course, is that because the technology has up to this date, the most sophisticated developments of the technology have been used for game playing. What we're trying to do is have the community be a genuine community. But it's like a campus. It's just like saying at a major campus like UCLA, you know, that they have major, very serious courses that are going on there, but they also play football and they also have drama courses and they have things like movie theaters, et cetera. There has to be a fair balance in here established. We don't want this to be perceived as a game. We don't want this to be a fictional fantasy kind of world. You know, we want this to be seen as a serious campus that is engaged in academic studies, in diplomatic training. These other aspects of the campus are ancillary to that. And I hear your question, Francisco, and we need to be conscious of not having this perceived as a game, because that's going to be an initial inclination on the part of a lot of people, because this technology has been encountered in the past primarily as a game. But there's more and more of this being developed now with the panels and the meeting virtually, especially now in light of the pandemic. A lot of people have been just trapped on just Zoom. But there are these other technologies where you can come together around a table. And as the technology is improved, which Mark is going to be doing, Mark has an entire cadre of experts whom he's met down through the years professionally that are going to up the technology here, where it doesn't look so much like a cartoon or like a little game, but it's going to be much more realistic. And the avatars are going to be able to look much more like the actual person, so that what we actually have is a gathering of people actually looking exactly like they really do around a conference table, and the seriousness of the subject matter is going to be able to characterize the website. That these are very serious conversations. These are major professionals that are engaged in this, and that's going to become the dominant perception of the website, so that the people that come there, even though there are these ancillary things of trying to have community and some kind of entertainment available, a lot of the entertainment will be directed toward, for example, movies, famous movies about the UFO experience and other things and the paranormal issues that we're going to deal with. But I hear your question, and Mark is very much aware of that, not overdoing kind of game, kind of entertainment quality of this thing.
My second question would be, is this focus on a virtual campus the difference to other similar projects in terms of citizen diplomacy with contact with ETs? Because we know there are other initiatives, whether in the US, the South American, Europe. Is this the main difference, or how are you going to present to the public besides the virtual
the technology? Yeah, it's the point of the whole conversation is different. It is not almost all the other conferences, as you know, keep concentrating on this question of whether UFOs are real and how many here. Tell me about this.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm not talking about conferences. I'm talking about the courses that you intend to deliver, to present. Right?
The courses are going to be professional. It's much more of like this, as I say, may well and probably will evolve into a college that has this. It's a whole new paradigm college. It's dealing with the whoops, wait a second here. Sorry, that it's going to be dealing with a new paradigm college that is going to be taking into account the new discoveries that have been made with regard to. There is a thing called the California Institute for Integral Studies that is attempting to have a serious discussion of the paranormal ET, or excuse me, extrasensory perception plate. There's the various institutes that deal with that. This is the building. We own this building, as a matter of fact. Well, it's the Earthways has made this facility available for us here. This is an actual facility 100 miles north of San Francisco. And we are going to be using this as the blueprints for this facility and all of its grounds as a basis for part of the teaching. And there's eventually going to be a real bricks and mortar aspect to this entire campus, so that there it is there. So that we have it both in the virtual realm and we have it also in the bricks and mortar, sitting on an 18.5-mile long lake that is only 100 miles north of San Francisco, where the actual people are going to come and take courses and take classes here, have faculty members here, have conferences that are here. That much like, if you're familiar with, there's a thing called the Chautauqua Institute that arose here in the United States, which was an effort to overcome the robber baron era here in our country. The National Board of Homeland Ministries of the United Methodist Church in the United States established a facility for training people into having a much higher consciousness in the economic field. And this is going to be a whole campus that is a very serious undertaking to bring the academy, that is the university world here on our planet, up into a new generation, because we're going to have to readjust many of the fields of human knowledge to take into account not only the insights of quantum physics, where most of the universities are still rooted in the old classic scientific materialism view of the Newtonian Cartesian worldview. There's a whole new worldview with regard to quantum physics, as you know, and yet the courses haven't really adjusted to that. That's part of what we're going to be doing, a very serious endeavor there. And also, of course, taking into account whatever the additional information is that we learn from the ET people, to have it integrated into the university system on our planet. This is going to be the example of how that starts taking place.
I'd like to just share a short video that this is a promo video we did for the college back before COVID. And when before COVID hit, we were doing some fundraising events to help raise money for all this stuff. And then COVID hit, and we had to put the whole thing on the back burner because we could not have gatherings, of course. But so we during the first few months of COVID, we created this promo, and this will give you an idea of what this place is like. It's really remarkable. So I'm going to share that and optimize for sound. So you should be able to hear this.
Can a college and a county inspire a country? And we think, yeah, this place, this college, this county. I'm a lifelong spiritual practitioner who's been involved in peace, advocacy, and interfaith work, and more than anything else, achieving and developing the transitional and transformational new paradigm that we all need in order to live from the right disposition.
Engage actively every day with improving quality of life for all. Had that really, really deep grounding in trying to make the world a better place for all beings.
That's all living things. Our dogs, our pets, our trees, our animals. You know, everything that's alive, we share something in common with.
And they can take what they learn here with hands-on experience. We're going to put them to work. They're going to learn how to grow things. They're going to learn the sciences and technologies that will help support sustainability, like renewable energy technologies, and then take that knowledge back home where they're from or wherever they want to establish a career to be community leaders and plant the seeds of knowledge and practice the things that we've taught them here.
So here, let me stop that video. So I think that should give you a little bit of an idea of how serious we are about this, that we're thinking holistically in terms of our ability to make this a serious endeavor where people can learn not just virtually, but eventually we can bring them to a place where they can have one-on-one interaction with educators, our thought leaders, faculty members. Ultimately, we're going to have a faculty of this college, and we want that to be an international faculty. So this is the vision. This is really what we need to, I believe, to do, and Danny believes that we need to do to make a true difference. And so.
Yeah, well, not only is this informative, it's absolutely, it's moving. That's the only word that comes to mind right now. It's absolutely moving what you guys are attempting to do and what you in fact are doing. There's no other word for it, because once people see the kinds of things that you're developing, not just what's here now, but what the vision is for the future and the new awakening that's there, I can't see why anyone would not want to become a little bit involved in it. And once they have that little bit of involvement, they'll come in droves. But I want to seek out a question here that I don't know we've addressed yet. I've been involved in a couple of conversations with Mark and with Danny together on Zoom in the gatherings that we've had, and I don't think it's come up yet. But it's to do with the actual communication potential of the communication. If in fact, and I hope this is not too big a curve to throw at either one of you, if in fact you're doing what you're doing, it's quite evident what you're doing. It's evident to people who see this, but it's also evident to the extraterrestrials, the visitors, the others. They know what you are doing. I'm convinced of that. I remain convinced of it. What kind of, just knowing that, how will that not change, but how will that affect what you do and how you get this information and their realization of what you're doing? How are we going to how will you bring those two factors together to have them possibly say in their own way, my goodness, there's a branch of humanity that's doing something so different, so arcane, that we just might want to engage with them. Otherwise, they may not. How would you address that issue?
Well, this is one of the keys to the discussions that are going to be going on at this August event. Is say, look at it, when you really come to grips with the reality of this, it becomes completely different. That this when you really start thinking in practical terms of, are we going to solicit face-to-face communication with some of the beings, the occupants of these UFOs? If we are we going to, the information that they give us has the potential of basically transforming our entire culture. And so that we have to exercise responsibility to figure out how much of that information we can take in, how can we slowly change the institutions on our planet to take into account the positive features of this, but at the same time, not have our entire culture dissolved, and being just dragged into a galactic culture that we become like in a colony of some kind. These are extraordinarily important questions that have to be asked. We know that on one end of the spectrum, the Defense Department and the military intelligence community are extremely paranoid about this whole thing. And they're thinking in terms of how to develop military equipment and new weapon systems, and to treat the extraterrestrial civilization as though it were some newly discovered, potentially hostile nation state. But on the other hand, there's people in our UFO community that have been at this for decades who may be a little bit too naive about, well, let's just invite them all in and get all their technology and have them come in and solve all of our health problems, et cetera. That would basically dissolve our entire civilization. So this is one of the key things, the kind of things we're going to be talking about in the discussions from August 18th to August 22nd with top level thinkers, people who have reflected on similar issues, but never directed their intellectual acumen to this particular set of questions. This has to be done now. So it's going to be the beginning of formulating our diplomatic relations, understanding our collective understanding among the different factions in our community. There are people here who think contact is a bad idea. There's others who think it's the best idea in should I say, in the world, but so there's a range of people, and that we want to have this discussion going on. And we know that the citizens around the country are going to say, boy, I wish that I was a fly on the wall for that conversation. Well, they're going to be. They're not only going to be a fly on the wall, they're going to be the people sitting in the seats, and they're going to get a chance to ask questions and participate in the dialogue. But this is an extraordinarily important set of questions that you're asking here, Victor. How are we going to genuinely integrate this? For example, and I've thought about this 100 times, if people who are dissatisfied with the functioning of our government institutions, of which there's a considerable number of people, or people that are unhappy about the functioning of the United Nations, that it isn't really helping much, that 10 million people a year are dying of starvation, people are dying of diseases that we've known the cure for 100 years. We can become disenchanted with our leaders, and people come from another planetary system and say, hey, we'll fix this for you. And all of a sudden, one's loyalty to one's country, one's loyalty to one's planet, one's loyalty to one's own species could be under question right away. So, okay, I'll join with you. I'll be part of you, and we'll fix this whole thing and let you guys be in charge. That we have to think very carefully about those kind of challenges. And these are the kind of people that we're bringing together who can face these kind of questions and talk about these things. But just like the question you've asked, Victor.
What would you say to the, Chris, chirp in anytime you want, okay? But what would you say to the scientific community who have their feet dead set in concrete about this whole issue and just their whole approach to science itself, that science is one linear progression towards improvement of things through the observable? What do you say to scientists to bring them on board? And I know that's a big question. How would you approach that in terms of the scientific community?
Well, we have, for example, Eric Weinstein, who is a PhD mathematician from Harvard, who has delivered lectures on cosmology at Oxford University, et cetera, is part of this thing. He is saying, look we need to reach out to the people, for example, at Princeton University in the advanced research thing, Einstein's old group, and some say, look the scientific community has for so long just held up a skull and crossbones in the face of this issue and don't want to talk about it and don't want to be viewed as, tinfoil hat people, they say. But therefore they haven't yet engaged in this. And what we need to do, he's reaching out and having conversations now with people at the highest levels of different scientific communities to get them involved in this conversation. That's precisely what we're doing here. He is one of our ambassadors reaching out to high-level people at Princeton and at Harvard and at other places to draw them into this conversation, letting them know that the Mensa types, the kind of geniuses are among our human family, need to start turning their attention to this issue. And we're going to draw them in and get them past this kind of antipathy that they have toward this particular subject. And in that regard, people like Chris Mellon and Lou Elizondo, who are actually inside the national security state infrastructure, are credible people to them. To the scientists say, okay, look, if they're saying this is okay and that we need to start talking about this, you get the Catholic Church issuing a statement saying we need to have this kind of conversation. We're trying to draw some of the quote credible institutions that reside at the center of the rational, scientific, logical, positivist, materialist worldview into making this transition. But we're not going to wait for them to do it. That's what the New Paradigm Institute is about. Mm-hmm. That's what the potential New Paradigm College is about. We're going to show people what it looks like, and people are going to flock to it. They're going to say, that's the kind of education I want. That's the kind of education I want my child to have, to get ready for the 21st and 22nd centuries, not be locked back into the pre-1923, Newtonian Cartesian scientific materialist worldview that has already been proven to be not true. We've got to not only help make this transition, we have to make this transition ourselves.
Yeah, it's truly a vision, Danny, and I know you and Mark have your hands full in doing this, and we've now been on for well over an hour, and we do need to wrap things up. But I want to tell you both that we will invite you back at any time as things progress, perhaps even after the 18th, and to sort of extend the conversation and make it more meaningful to the number of people that will latch on to this particular broadcast and want to know more about this. So is there anything that you want to say and sort of sum things up, Mark or Danny? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mark.
I would just like to encourage people to go to makingcontact.com and buy a ticket. This is a ticket that you should buy. We are limiting it to 2,000 people, and they're going fast. So, and remember that you can save $100 if you put in there Victor Save 100, all uppercase, no spaces, and that'll save you $100. So it's a $149 ticket for a 5-day event with this caliber of speakers. It's going to be a historic event. I think one of the most important events in history regarding this issue. And so it's a bargain, and we hope that people take advantage of this opportunity and with this coupon. So I hope Francisco and Chris, I hope that you too can make it. It doesn't matter the fact that you're outside of the U.S., that you can come to the event and you can watch the lectures when it's convenient to you. Or you can participate live and do Q&A with the presenters. We have the ability to do Q&A. There's these panel discussions, again, where you can have a Q&A session with them after, or you can have one-on-one time after their presentations. These people are going to make themselves available, and those people, these speakers, that is, can go to areas of the campus with a small group of people that want some one-on-one time with them to ask them questions. I mean, this is unprecedented. You can't do this any other way. And so that's another thing that makes this so unique. So I encourage everyone watching this to please buy your ticket. If this interests you whatsoever, take advantage of this opportunity.
Danny, you have any final words or?
No, that's the final word.
Good, okay. I'll throw it over to you, Chris, to say our goodbyes.
Okay, thank you very much. This has been a wonderful discussion. And to echo what Mark was just saying here, please visit makingcontact.com. We have a wonderful opportunity here for our viewership to be educated and to experience something that is really something, there's nothing out there like this. I also see a huge opportunity for a collaborative effort with organizations such as ICER, where it's a wonderful combination of citizens, just regular everyday people, but also folks that have been studying and been on top of this for a long, long time. And educators such as Victor, whose history was in education, Francisco is an educator. The philosophical and theological aspects of this, Danny, with your background with the Jesuits, my background is with Franciscans. However, both of them, I believe, would be just fine with what is going on and the approach that is being taken here today, and the direction that you gentlemen are going here with us. So I want to thank everybody for participating, for being with us. This has been a wonderful discussion, and continue to walk with us at the edge of the new frontier, where we explore that which is yet to be seen. Thank you.
You've been listening to the New Frontier Network.